science, one of our favorite partners. See, some of them are in the crowd. And he's committed to increasing true diversity in the American scientific workforce. He's also a member of the same union as me, UAW Local 5810, the Union of Postdocs at the University of California. So join me in welcoming Kevin.
Thank you to the organizers of the March for Science Bay Area for inviting me to speak here today. My name is Kevin. I'm a researcher at UCSF. I'm also an advocate for true diversity in the sciences, and this is why I'm a proud member of SACNAS, the largest multidisciplinary and multicultural science advocacy organization in the country and a strong partner of the March for Science. When I was invited to speak here, I was repeatedly asked why I march. Why do I march for science? The more I pondered that question, the more I realized why this march matters. One inspiration to march stems from a test administered to children called the Draw a Scientist test. As the name implies, the premise is simple. You simply ask a child to draw a scientist. But while the premise is simple, the resulting drawings can reflect profoundly unsettling realities about the conduct of science in this country. Ask a child in the year 1980 to draw a scientist, and that child would most likely draw a white man in a lab coat. But ask a child today, nearly 40 years later, to draw a scientist, and with luck, that child may draw a white woman in a lab coat. Stereotypes of who can become a scientist are stubbornly and deeply entrenched in our society. Even here in the Bay Area, with its prestigious universities, massive technology industries, and its numerous scientific laboratories, many of our children lack the opportunity to see science, to study science, and to become a scientist. Our economy and the nation's scientific and technological advances depend on the strength of contributions from a diverse group of people. But our country has not ensured equity and access for everybody to contribute. So you may wonder, why is this our problem? Let me stress how deeply representation matters in science. In my field of genomics, we have seen over the last 20 years tremendous federal investment in genome sequencing technologies and databases. We want to understand the genomic basis of disease, to develop new pharmaceuticals, and to make medical practices more precise. But the majority of sequenced genomes come from individuals of European descent. This reflects the background of genomic scientists, but not American society at large. Black and Latino and indigenous peoples constitute nearly a third of this country, and they will constitute an even larger share of the population by the year 2050. Yet these populations constitute a mere 4% of genomic study subjects. Where will the fruits of our genomic studies go? Who will benefit from the new drugs, less disease burden, or new medical practices? Certainly not the 4%. And I can go on about how people of color disproportionately suffer from diabetes, obesity, and sickle cell diseases. I can go on about how people of color are more likely to live near toxic waste plants, oil refineries, and polluted Superfund sites. How people of color are more likely to lack access to potable water, to live in hurricane and flood zones. Historically, this country did not value the health of people of color, and that mentality has changed little in recent years. It is easy for us scientists to remain quiet in the face of environmental or social justices. After all, the majority of scientists are not personally affected by these issues. But I refuse to ignore problems that do not affect me directly. I will not stay quiet. Surveys have shown that scientists are among the most trusted members of our society. Our collective voice carries tremendous authority. And with this power, we can bring attention to the ills of our society. We can bring rigor and evidence and clarity to complicated environmental, medical and social problems. We can study, address, and rectify societal disparities. We can use science to create a more just and diverse future for our children. And I have hope for that future because I work at a university that trains young scientists, and through them, I can glimpse the future. I see a future where scientists merge their interests with a mission to make the world better, where scientists turn their attention to the environmental, medical, and sociological issues in society, where scientists shed their reluctance and disdain for engaging with the public, where scientists represent their communities and their communities are represented in science. I see a future where scientists collaborate across borders, scientists of all genders and colors and cultures and social backgrounds. Science does not care about school district lines, neighborhood divisions, border walls, visas, or citizenship documents. Science cares about evidence. Evidence is taller and stronger than any border. Evidence never carries a passport. I see a future where I can ask a child to draw a scientist. And no matter where that child comes from, be it Richmond or Oakland or San Francisco or Sacramento, Stockton, Riverside, Los Angeles, or San Diego, I ask that child to draw a scientist, and that child draws itself. Why do I march for science? I march to make that child's future a reality, and I hope that you do too. Thank you all.